We're very happy and to be here today. You wonder where we are with all this beautiful background. It's very special. I'm here with Miss Katie T, one of my best friends and a well-respected gallerist in Hong Kong. Katie, how are you doing?
I'm great, Henrietta. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I'm so happy that we're chatting. Tell me something about frog king.
So Frog King, as you can see, the first thing you feel about Frog King's work, Frog King is the energy. Frog King is in his 70s. He is Hong Kong's first performance artist. In fact, he was doing performance art in China, the first documented performance art in China in the 70s. He works in very many different medium, from sculptures, installations, and he loves to interject positive messages into his work. So you'll see things like love, kisses,
dream, action,
motion,
leave, and free, air free.
Free air, love
free,
air
free.
free.
Love air free.
So, and then he always has his froggy symbols everywhere. He was inspired by the graffiti artists when he was living in New York, and he was part of the graffiti scene in New York in the 1980s and half of the 90s for 15 years. So he's an exceptional artist from Hong Kong. Hong Kong born artist.
Very proud of him, right?
Yes.
And so today we'll have a lot of time talking to Katie about the art she selects and why art matters. Yeah, but to begin with, your gallery presents quite a number of very interesting Chinese artists who probably started their career after the Cultural Revolution, and then you're one of the key galleries who are persistent in promoting them and researching on them. What drew you to these artists?
So really, we moved to Hong Kong in 1994. 26 years ago.
26 years ago.
And I opened my gallery in 2001. In the meantime, I was, interacting with several artists and getting to know Hong Kong and China more and more. And I struck a friendship with a few mainland Chinese artists. And one of them was Wong Ka-ping. Wong Ka-ping is part of the first generation artists from the Stars exhibition. When this group of artists started to tell me their stories, I started to hear my own family stories. So my family's from Poland. Mm-hmm. My mother was born in the Ukraine, so she was also part of this generation under Stalin, and suffered a lot under those conditions.
Right.
So I heard a lot of similar stories, and I was very drawn to it. And I was very drawn to their thinking and their anger. Having lived so much, but not caring
difficult
with them,
situation.
Into their artworks, etc. So even though Wong Ka-ping's early works were very political, and he was the most bold artist of the Stars exhibition,
right,
to make very bold political works, and in fact, at the time that was not really seen in 1979. But really seeing how their work developed, and not only Wong Ka-ping, but also Huang Rui and Ma Deshang, our other two Stars artists that we work with, and just the depth of their being and their commitment and their journey and their thinking. I find them very deep. We developed a friendship, right, through the collecting and showing of their artworks. And as a gallerist, every time you have an exhibition, it is trying to really show the soul of an artist to the public.
Right.
You are a medium, the interface between the public and the artist to communicate what their message is and what they're creating. And There are so many different stories. There's a million stories and a million histories that led to that being creating that story. For primary art gallery like both of us,
Right.
We are having the first exhibition of that artwork for those artists, right? So even if we might be showing some historical work as well, but for the most part, we're the first place that an artwork is shown and then seen to the public on a wider scale, and then it goes off from there.
How have you seen these artists develop over the years in terms of interest locally or like internationally? And what do you think, what is your vision with these artists?
Well, we represent artists from the Asia Pacific, so from several different countries, but India, Burma, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia. We've had a Japanese artist at our gallery, also Australia. So we're working with a wide range of artists. And have not finished. So we are still looking, and also from Hong Kong, of course,
right.
Our beloved Hong Kong. It's just like the stories that are behind the artwork are just so fascinating. And we also work with curators in the region who bring together certain artists, right?
Right.
So it's just one by one, and very powerful. Like, for example, one artist I'm thinking of is Ten Lin from Myanmar, from Burma.
Right.
He was a political prisoner for several years in solitary confinement, and you would expect that he would come out of that like a little bit angry about it, but he's Buddhist, and he says that actually it gave him a lot of time to meditate. And his artwork is very.
I remember you showing him in Hong Kong.
Yes, I showed him in Hong Kong,
yes.
and also the M Plus bought his soap installation that was individual carved soap when he was in prison that he had given to the UNHCR who came to visit him. So and it's the one block of soap is part of their collection.
Wow.
So it's just fascinating, all these stories that these artists have, right? And their personal histories, right? So what's going on in their country? What's going on in their personal life? What's going on in their spiritual background, right? In throughout time, right?
Right.
So the influences of Asian spirituality will come through Taoism, Confucianism. So it goes deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of discovery.
There are many questions from viewers who wanted to know how you select your artists over time, because your gallery has really, of course, a very important reputation here, and you've gone through a lot, and we can see the consistency of choices that you have, like the region, as you said. But otherwise, how?
I think that the mind of the artist and the feeling of the artist is very important, as the thinking process. And even if Frog King's work is very playful, actually there's so much depth in it, right? It can be coming from different things, but the thought process behind it is very important. So I have made mistakes where I tried to follow a trend, for example.
You did?
Thinking, everybody's doing that, I need to jump on that. But I learned very quickly that once a trend is happening, you're already too late.
Right.
Well, no, I always, I didn't want to limit the artist to my limitations.
Okay.
So I wanted to allow the artist to grow.
Right.
So I, never said, me and only me. Only in Hong Kong, Hong Kong's a small place.
Sure.
We can't have two galleries representing the same artists in Hong Kong. But But otherwise, I think it would be silly a gallery, of my size to. I don't have enough to offer them. They should be allowed to grow and their career to grow, and that's a good thing for my business as well. So yeah, no, I don't require them to be exclusive except for in Hong Kong. But if my gallery gets bigger, then we could think about that, but not yet.
And your gallery is like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Now almost 20 years old. You want it to be more connected, and you want to be the connection and the inspiration for the future generation. What does that mean? And how are you going to do this?
Of course, when you're younger, you like are more, pushing towards the ambition of how you think things are going, how you should do, right? And in the art world, it's a very competitive world, and it's very time-consuming and energy draining. And after this, 19 going on to 20 years. I say, why continue to keep running? Rather just slow down. And actually this time of the COVID virus and other things happening in Hong Kong, etc., it's kind of given us a chance to slow down and to really,
I agree. Totally.
Say, okay, why am I running around in circles? Because I'm just going in circles. So I'd rather, take time to connect with art collectors, with artists, with non-art collectors who are interested in art, and do things that really bring me pleasure too, really, and connecting and inspiring people gives me a lot of pleasure.
How do you kind of ensure, but to run your company or work so that you said that you want to just work on things that speak to the soul, and not to be non-selective or just running after.
Well, it's it sort of has happened. Even if I go to an art fair or a museum show, obviously some works will just strike you so strongly, right? So it can speak to you, right? So it happens very naturally. When you are a gallery, you go and visit studio, and sometimes you're just like, okay, and somebody's bringing you there, like a lovely curator or something, and you're trying to be polite, but okay, no, not
can
this
we
one.
Leave now?
not for me. I don't feel this one, and maybe to my detriment, but and you can see that with other galleries. They will have their own
style, I guess.
Their own artists that they choose, the reasons why they choose those artists.
Right.
So everybody is different. So trust yourself. Trust. I always say I don't show any artist that I wouldn't buy myself.
That's a good motto to understand. Anyone who wants to open a gallery, don't present any artist whom you won't buy.
Yeah, because
that's a very good rule.
And you have to have your heart in it to sell it to somebody else too.
That's right, completely. I totally agree.
And the market is important because it allows, galleries to exist. It allows the artists to exist. So, and that's why art matters.